this is we had a demo with this minister. So that was the picture of this one. Particularly, I request to people who are doing research, don't think that, okay, I did something, I got a PhD. Not like that. If you want to do a PhD or if you want to write a paper and research, first think, if I develop such kind of a tool, who is using the tool? Are there anyone reading my book if I write a thesis? After your defense, you have to give the book in library. It will stay at the same place for decades, right? Before starting your PhD, think once, is there any direct applications to the society? At least to my village, at least to my family. I'm spending 3 years, 4 years. How many people are using this work? If you think and start your PhD, that's it. You are the master in that one. Digital humanities is providing the like that. Okay. So you know this. This is a simple thing. Most of the NLP people are working on this. So I am not. So I am not going through all these things. Basically, I would like to show you. This is how, if you are working, this is a big picture of this digital humanities technology through machine learning. So, okay, don't afraid that, oh, everyone is talking about machine learning. What is this? Blah, blah, blah. It is very simple. All this machine learning things are 3 steps: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and some kind of reinforcement learning. Only 3 steps. What are the differences between these two? I would like to say one simple example. Okay. What is supervised learning? Supervised learning is like a good wife. Okay. A mature wife. So if the husband has some kind of other relations, he will tell that, please stop that one. I am there for you lifelong, or something like that. If you don't listen, then finally she beat everything. In the similar way, what supervised learning is, how machine is learning is this: if you give 3 grams Indian rupee, weight is 3 grams. Euro, weight is 7 grams. Norwegian kroner, 4 grams. So if there is some kind of differentiation. So machine learn these things by reading n number of supervised learning. After that, if you give 3 grams thing, it is saying that, oh, this weight is 3 grams. So it is 1 rupee, something like that. What unsupervised learning is doing, it don't need predefined data. Unsupervising means just take all the raw data and try to understand the data by seeing the most frequenting occurrences, and finally it will come to this some kind of conclusion. This is unsupervised learning. So reinforcement learning means, okay, first it will go through this a dog. Okay, it will tag that, hey, this is not a dog, it is cat. Then the user said that, no. Again, go through again once. See the features, tail. The dog tail is like this. It is a cat. No, again do this. So reinforcement. So it is by doing again and again and again and simple data, the reinforcement is going to start. So this is how this whole machine learning, only 3 things, but these 3 parts contain different kind of algorithms. Being a humanist, being a social science students, you don't need to have this all machine learning and mathematical algorithms, but you have to have some knowledge how to manipulate these algorithms. For example, Tamil language structure is different from Telugu language structure. Tamil language structure is different from Kannada language structure. Tamil language structure is different from Malayalam language structure, but somewhat closer to Malayalam. So if you develop an algorithm for Kannada language, it may not work for Tamil language, but it may work for Telugu language. But Kannada and Telugu is structurally, semantically somewhat closer. Okay, and Malayalam and Tamil language is closer. So if you identify the difference with these supervised and unsupervised and reinforcement learnings by implementing these methods, if you identify how these languages are different, where they are getting differ, then if you change this algorithm, then you can develop a common platform for all these languages, at least South Indian languages. So digital humanities is giving such kind of scope to do these things. So I am stopping here, but I am going to show you mostly. I have at 9 o'clock. I have an appointment, so I have to show you. I would like to show you some kind of tools, practical tools, where you can do all these things. You can see here, if you find, I told you, right, that's a stone-based inscription. So if you find a simple part, so you can simply, by using this machine, you can extract the upper layer and you can copy it and paste it in Word document. This is a giga, you don't need, by using this tool, you can scan all manuscripts, all stone-based inscriptions. Simply, you can convert the text into Word document. The stone-based inscription test, the manuscript inscriptions test, you can convert simply into Word document. Yeah. Now it is scanning inside. If there is a stone, what is there inside the stone? First, you remove the upper layer. You saved it in a document. And after that, it is scanning inside the object as well. You don't need to do any kind of technical thing, but you have to have the knowledge how to use this tool. That's it. That is the beauty of digital humanities. Even if it is the stone-based inscription contains very classical language, very old Tamil language. Even Tamil people can't understand that language. Machine can understand that language. Machine can understand whole the language, and it will suggest that, hey, probably it might be this century language or something like that. So this is a tool, and at the same time, I am going to show you another tool. Okay, this is a tool where machine can write these classical poems. Machine can, if you write at the moment, it is writing the classical poem, but it is not meaningful. This tool. But what it do is, if you give any kind of manuscripts and any kind of poem kept in this tool, it analyzes the whole thing, and if there are any mistakes and if there are any damages in the document, it will find out the thing. Let's see. I am taking randomly. I am taking a poem. This is a poem. I found it in a manuscript, but I don't know what kind of poem it is and what are the mistakes are there. So if you ask the same thing, now the literature people used to go to each and every line, and they used to read each and every word, okay, and they do all this lagu guru kind of stuff. But if I give the poem to machine, within 1 second, it is analyzing the thing, okay, and it is finding this yati and prasa as well. How easy it is. For example, I am taking the same poem, okay, I am doing a simple mistake. I am making the long form as a short form. Immediately the machine is saying, detecting the mistake. Hey, there is something mistake. It is actually, it is there, but it's supposed, the particular letter is supposed to be like this. By doing a simple mistake, this poem is similar to another poems. So that's what I'm saying. Classical poem is nothing but music and mathematics. So through this tool, if you ask that machine, hey, write a poem describing a lotus, write a poem describing Chennai, machine can write within a few seconds. That is the artificial intelligence. So we are providing artificial intelligence to machine to achieve all these things. This is another project which I have been working on, which is called as DPDP. So this is, you know, this Egyptian pyramids, right? Mummies, Egyptian mummies. You might have seen this mummy movie. Okay. So recently, 5 years back, they found some kind of papyrus. Papyrus means like our manuscripts. Egyptians have some kind of papyrus. I will show you this, how papyrus is look like. This is how. Yeah, this is how this papyrus is look like. So a document, a document which can show these things, right? So you can see all these things are images. All these things are images. So here, image-based things. So nowadays even people can't read what is there. This is, if you are saying that I am eating, there should be a person who is sitting on this one, who is sitting on this like this and keeping hand inside the mouth. That then it is he is eating. So such kind of document is there, image-based thing. So this papyrus, they found it in here. So we develop a data bank which can analyze this language and convert into modern Egyptian language. So if you see here, from minus 17th century, BC 17th century to 400 after Christ, AC. These are the documents from Egypt. These people gathered these documents and we analyzed, okay, how each and every letter gradually changed from different kind of century. If you can see, if I'm moving here, my cursor, this is also moving like this, okay? Such kind of tools we need to develop. For example, how this Tamil changed by centuries and decades and decades and centuries and centuries. How it changed? Go to the past. You don't need to go to everything manually. Machine will go to the past, dig the ancient resource, ancient evidence of Tamil and alphabets, and it automatically generate a data bank. So, see one letter, how gradually changed, simplified to end centuries. This is how we need to do. So you can see here, this is the Egypt map. You know this Nile, the river Nile. Okay, this is the Nile River. If you see, most of the literature developed around the Nile River in Egypt. One more thing I would like to say here, digital means don't think that, hey, I scanned everything, I kept in the computer, that is digitalization. Don't think like that. That is making a photocopy. Okay. Digital means we have to scan it. Machine can understand that. Machine can read that document. Machine can analyze the document. Then that was only digitalization. Indian manuscripts. The university in Germany, you may suppress Vedas, epics, Puranas, poetry, Shastras, okay, Tripitikas. All these documents are there in electronic format, Electronic format means not only simply scanning. Machine, it is machine readable format. Machine can understand. Machine, what is that? What is if you said that Agnimile Purohitam, machine can exactly understand what exactly Agnimile Purohitam means. It translates the same meaning into German. Even if you see the Vedas, there is a specific way to pronounce the Vedas, like Udattam, Anudattam, Swaritam. Okay, all these notations are annotated in this university library. Even there are some Tamil uh, uh, ancient, they did digitalized Tamil ancient documents. Digitalized means not scanning, converting into machine readable format. You can see here all these things. Sanskrit, Vedas, Rigveda. See, XML format, HTML format, and plain text format. Vedas and Pitikas, Rigvedam, Atharvana Vedam, Sama Vedam, in all different formats. It is machine readable format, not a scanning and not a typing. Annotation, with annotation. All these things they did it actually. Tamil, this Germans people. I will go for Tamil something. There are huge Indian studies, Indian manuscript studies. See, if you run any kind of machine learning on this document, machine can simply derive the scientific elements from the manuscript. Go to Tamil studies. I really am not good. Some Tamil related old manuscripts and 15th century documents. All these are Tamil. All these are digitalized. Digitalized means not scanning, converting into machine readable format. If you give a Tamil book, how your human brain is thinking, in the similar way, machine is thinking with these Tamil documents. So we need to do such type of studies here. Otherwise, nothing works out. I will show you. There are some other projects. As I mentioned, I am a little bit rushed due to my 9 o'clock appointment. I am going to show you one more thing is Corpus Coranicum. So the Corpus Coranicum, this is a European Union funded project. What they are doing is they are collecting all ancient Quran documents throughout the world. Gathered manuscripts from different Istanbul and Cairo, Egypt, and Copenhagen, New York, even from India. They gathered this Quran, Holy Quran manuscript throughout the world, and they developed a data bank. They scanned it, they digitalized it, and not only digitalization, they converted it OCR and English translation. From the English translation, after that they did some kind of German and other German translation. Now machine can understand what is there in Quran exactly. So we are seeing the Quran and Bhagavad Gita or all the religion stuff with a narrow mind actually. Narrow mind means, okay, if it is a Saivas and Vaishnavas fighting between them, it's not like that. We have to see, these are the Quran documents, ancient Quran documents from different kind of countries. Now we are analyzing all these documents with machine. So based on the country, that Quran is changed, the principles. We are seeing all these holy books from Christians or Hindu or Muslim, all the books from higher level. If you see this from higher level, all these books, you can feel that, hey, all these are same. Okay, all people are same, all religions are same. So to establish that thing, machine can understand this holy book. So this is a project we have been developing. Let me take it. It's taking some time. Okay, so this is that we need such kind of studies for Indian. So this is actually Indian manuscript. It is taking a little bit time because of back end is n number of high resolution images. So this is from Rampur Library in India, the Holy Quran. So you can see here all this. Everything is automatically transliterated and translated. Just we have to scan it, convert into different kind of format. Even the translation is also German translation and English translation from this ancient Hebrew or Urdu language. This is not a modern Arabic language. Make you as a software engineer. It's not a software engineer to make you to work in an IT company. Yeah. Actually, I skipped the data science part. If you know, if you know how data science is, how companies are really working with data science, then you feel like, hey, that is what actually interest towards digital humanities and digital technology. There are tools. You have to have an idea how to utilize these tools for your language. By deleting other language, you have to inject your data into that tool. Then the tool try to learn that language. So that is how digital humanities work. If you have any questions, don't ask me now because it takes a lot of time. You can write me an email. This is my email address, and definitely I will answer to you. And yeah, if you have, even our university is really looking, we are open to Germans are really open to do research collaboration with different kind of organizations. But if you have passionate towards doing some digital humanities things with us, so we are very happy to collaborate with any good institutions. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Yeah. Namaste.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for valuable information about digital humanities. Now I request